Well, we're going to fly through this quickly today. We've got 10 minutes. So what I'm going to show you is a review. Dave was kind enough to let me use his website as a guinea pig. So we're going to kind of look at a report that I ran on his website. Kind of criticizes the site in terms of search engine optimization. So these are not my opinions of his site. These are Google's opinions. It has nothing to do with whether or not the colors are nice or the photography is nice or whether even the wording is convincing and makes people want to call. This is just strictly like black and white, pass or fail on these rules that Google puts in place. And so they're going to be evaluating all of your websites on these same criteria. So what we're going to do is look at this score. So you've got a 55 out of 100. So not a great score. You can imagine there's a lot of room for improvement there. What we're looking at here, as I go through this report, there are going to be 4 icons, and we're going to stop on the ones that he failed on. So we're going to look for those red ones, okay?
It's like one of your school report cards, right there.
Yeah.
Same basic thing.
We call it our Google report cards. So you did fine on these first tasks here. So everybody's probably familiar with the look of this little box right here. This is what his listing looks like on Google. Google is going to read that little preview and make an assumption about your website and what your site is all about. So the good thing is that he's got the word insurance in here, and the word insurance there, and the word insurance there. So that's a good thing to have it in all 3 spots. If you're missing it in any of those 3 spots, you might not rank very well because you don't want to just be ranking for Johnstown and Dave. You got to be ranking for phrase insurance. So, the only thing you might want to do there is maybe put in something, about auto insurance or car insurance, something like that. But you're not getting punished for that. So that's done well. I highlighted a few things in this report. This is called a heading. And the heading is, think of it like the headline on your page. And Dave's website has one headline, and it's his phone number. And so Google's going to look to that phone number, or going to look for the heading and say, well, what are you really about? Tell us in one sentence what you're about. And he says that he's about his phone number. That's what he's telling Google. So rather than using the headline as an opportunity to say, hey, I'm all about insurance and car insurance and life insurance, and this just says he's about phone number. So that's kind of wasting your big opportunity there with Google. So when your first big headline on the page, you want to make sure that it contains the keyword phrases that you want to be found for. Does that make sense? So since we've got 10 minutes to talk and 5 for questions, if you want to ask questions in the middle, we can set it up that way. You don't have to wait till the end.
And that's a simple fix, right? You just go in and
Go
put
to
in
your website and
your tagline.
Find your first headline on there and make sure that it uses your keyword phrases. If you've got lots of headlines on the pages, they shouldn't all be categorized as what are called H1s, because H1 is a little piece of code that says this is the most important headline. H2, H3, H4, just like a big newspaper, you got big headlines and smaller sub-headlines. So when you glance down the page, you can tell what's the most important thing. And you'd have to look at the code, and I can help you with this, but if you look at the code and you've got H1, 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 Google goes, you're going to get punished because you can't tell us you're about 3 things. You only get the opportunity one time. So I see that mistake a lot where websites have multiple H1 tags rather than an H1 and H2 and an H3.
But
That makes sense?
the H1 is the developer that does that, not us.
It's usually your developer, yeah. But it can be modified pretty easily. So this is a list of all the keywords that were found just when this tool read through his website. And it found the word team in his website 9 times. Does that make sense? Insurance was found, and this is on the home page, found 7 times. So I highlighted insurance because Dave probably doesn't care to be found for a lot of these other phrases. Insurance is the one he wants to be found for. So if we look at insurance, we want to make sure that it's found in the title, the description, and then that H means the headline. So if it's found in the title, you got a green check. In the description, you got a green check. It's not found in the headline though, because remember, the headline was just a phone number. So I'd like to see green check marks all the way across here. None of them have solid green check marks. None of these phrases here. So, best option, it'd be nice if that was found in all 3, but really, he's going to fail because we know the headline only has a phone number in it, so he's never going to get a pass on this one. To Google, it's all about putting the right keywords in the right places and then building credibility after that, showing them that you're a viable website. This one is alt attributes. Whenever you have a photo, you have the opportunity behind that photo to put a few keyword phrases in there. And essentially this is used for people who are blind, so that software that reads the web page to them can tell them this is a picture of Dave. But in this case, he has 5 pictures and he doesn't have any of the little words behind there. And I know Dave's probably not saying, hey, my main audience I'm trying to target are people with, they're visually impaired, but Google looks at it as an indicator that you're trying to be user-friendly. So if you're user-friendly, even though you may not be targeting blind people, it's good for you. So it's something that you want to do. Every time you put a photo in, there's probably a little box where you can fill in what's called an alt attribute. It means alternate text.
And is that also the web designer does that, or is that something?
In most tools that you use, if you're able to edit your own site, whenever you put a picture in, there will be a little box where you can enter alternative text. And I would just put in a little sentence that says, this is a picture of Dave, owner of Best Option Insurance. So you get the word insurance in there. You don't want to just put insurance, 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 because that'll get you punished. So just put a little sentence in there that describes what the picture is and tells a little bit about your company. This one shows that only 10 pages have been found by Google. That's actually pretty accurate, but it's kind of low. So we'd like to see more content. Google is going to reward you for the more content. So if you can have more content, that's great. So
What's the number they're looking for?
it depends on the competition. If you're trying to go after a phrase like retirement, you need to have 1 billion pages. If you're trying to go after like retirement planning in Boulder County, you have to have fewer.
Gotcha.
So one-page websites aren't a good thing.
Oh, not at all. You have a real hard time ranking them. This one just shows that his website's not connected to his Google Plus page. Dave, do you even have a Google Plus page? Mm-hmm. Okay. The website is not connected though, so you have to put a little piece of code in there. It's called the rel equals publisher, and it's just a little snippet of code Google will give you so that you can put it in your website, and then Google knows, oh, that's your Google Plus page, and you'll get credit for the page. If you don't have a page, you're kind of thumbing your nose and snubbing Google because they'll reward you if you use their social media platform.
Do they call it Google Plus nowadays?
Yeah.
Okay, I just got something that's called Google Business Local.
Yeah, they changed the names. It used to be Google Maps, and then it was Google Plus, and then Google Plus Local. And it depends on whether you're talking personal or business. Google Plus Local is essentially the same thing as the personal page. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Okay, you did well on all of these. We'll fly past them. Here's one you missed. He only bought his domain name a year ago, so not a lot he can do about that, but it would really benefit him if he had bought the domain 10 years ago, but you can't really change that. So age of his domain name, bestoptioninsurance.com, is a big factor. They're looking to credibility, and it's like a new business they just opened last week. They don't have that credibility and trust that they'll have if they've been open for 10 years. So Dave's been around a lot longer, but he switched domain names about a year ago. The site is not mobile friendly, so it failed on this one. What mobile friendly would look like is on the phone, it wouldn't just give you this little teeny tiny version where you have to like pinch and zoom in and then pan across it. That's frustrating for users. A mobile friendly version would take like all these boxes and just have them full size, but they'd be stacked and you just scroll up and down. So the whole website becomes this tall, skinny website, and that's a truly mobile-friendly site.
And that's a big thing now, right?
Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, as of April 21st, Google began heavily punishing sites that weren't mobile-friendly. And in our industry, that update was called Mobile-geddon. This shows that it's not touchscreen ready either, so whether it's on this laptop that has a touchscreen or whether it's on a phone or a tablet, it has to be touchscreen ready. And a lot of that has to do with just even the size of the targets. So if we look back at this little website here. You can imagine how hard it would be for me to touch that little button, let alone if there was a link somewhere that I had to put my big fat finger on. So you want to make sure that you have what are called larger tap targets, so that when you're building something, you want to have bigger buttons. So if this were set up so it's big paragraph button, then the buttons would be big enough that I could push them. But as it stands now, they're just all little teeny tiny things, and so he's failing on that one. That's a pretty heavy punishment. Same thing here. You can see how tiny that font size was. He's failing on font size.
What size should your font be?
We usually build our sites at like 13 pixels is the size of the body copy. And then that usually passes the test. So it's not like Microsoft Word where you choose a point size, you choose a pixel size. And they're roughly the same. Like we use typically like in a print document, you use 10 or 11 or 12 point text. On the web, you'll use like 10 or 11 pixel text. So 13 pixel usually passes the test.
Which is the same as,
Maybe 12 point,
okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Let's see if there's any others you failed on here. I think you're doing pretty well. Here we go. So this one, Dave and I talked a lot about this one. His website is hosted in Scottsdale, and whenever we see that the website is hosted in Scottsdale, Arizona, we know, uh-oh, it's GoDaddy. And GoDaddy is really bad news because they have on his server with his website, there's like 1,000 other websites. And a good 10% of them are pornography sites. And so...
And why is that bad?
Why is that bad? Because Google can see the neighborhood you're living in, and they say, oh, Dave, you're kind of associating with those people. And he'll get punished because we want to do everything we can to distance ourselves from the appearance of porn. If you look like you're affiliated with porn because you're hosted with porn, or you have any naughty words in your site, then you'll get punished. I think last time Brian presented, he talked about poison words. Do you guys remember that? Yeah. And so, if you say it's hard to find good insurance, don't use the word hard. Say it's difficult to find good insurance. So it's not like the one mention of the word hard is going to really get you knocked down 10 pages. But if you say that it's hard to do this, and you mention that you offer great service, and you say you have insurance that's great for teens, and you add those up, and maybe there's some other place where you offer a hot deal. You put all that in one page, and combine it with the fact that you're hosted with GoDaddy, and there's no reason you wouldn't be punished.
Or that of painting.
Yeah, or there's
There's
also his picture on the website too.
Yes, yeah, naked. I told him first thing, remove the naked picture.
Yeah.
So one of the things Dave and I have talked about is what's called a CDN. And when you check that box and you activate a CDN, it keeps a copy of your files in Seattle and in San Francisco, New York, Denver, all around the globe. And the beauty of that is that if you are serving a nationwide audience and you have people, let's say, in Florida who are looking for your company, then it doesn't have to bring the files all the way from Ogden, Utah, because that's a slow download. It'll bring them from Miami if they're down in Florida. If they're up in New York, it'll bring them from Manhattan. And then you'll have redundancy too, because they're backed up on these servers around the world.
Well, they never said anything about that.
If you haven't checked that box, it's a really easy box to check. Just go into your hosting account and look for CDN, or Content Delivery Network. It'll speed up your download times, and you'll have that assurance that you're backed up on multiple servers. Because you never know if a terrorist is going to take out some... if they took out Scottsdale, and boy, most of the web would go down because GoDaddy hosts everything.
Yeah, I've heard that something with NSA would happen to them.
So Dave, I'm probably well over my time here.